With so many big shows dominating the headlines in 2025, it's easy to miss the hidden treasures quietly dropping on streaming. Today we're shining a light on the underrated gems, the series that didn't quite get the hype but absolutely deserve a spot on your watch list. From gritty thrillers to gripping true stories and even a few surprises, these are the shows you'll be glad you discovered first.
Did you die?
Male enforcement, come out with your hands up.
Kicking things off is The Bondsman, Prime Video's offbeat supernatural thriller with Kevin Bacon front and center. Bacon plays Hub Halloran, a rough-around-the-edges bounty hunter whose life takes a wild detour when he's killed, only to be resurrected by the devil himself. From that moment on, Hub's job isn't just tracking down fugitives, it's rounding up demons that have escaped from hell, a twisted spin on the bounty hunter genre that blends small-town grit with supernatural menace. What really makes the series sing is the world orbiting Hub. At home is Kitty, his fiercely protective mother, and Cade, his teenage son, both pulled into the fallout of Hub's second life. Then there's Marianne, Hub's ex-wife, and Lucky Callahan, the bar owner she's with now, whose history with Hub keeps tensions simmering. And watch for Midge, the cheerfully ominous fixer tied to the forces that brought Hub back, whose smile usually means trouble. Tonally, The Bondsman is gothic and unsettling one moment, slyly funny the next. It's not just a monster hunt of the week, it's a story about guilt, redemption, and what happens when a deeply flawed man is forced to reckon with his part while chasing literal demons. The southern gothic backdrop adds mood and atmosphere, turning Hub's personal hell into something you can almost feel creeping off the screen. If you like your shows with small-town grit, supernatural twists, and a lead who feels like he's barely holding it together while the world unravels, The Bondsman is one of 2025's most overlooked gems and one you wanna binge.
Mr. President?
Paradise opens with a shocking event. The President of the United States is assassinated, plunging the nation into chaos. In the aftermath, questions of power, loyalty, and survival ripple through both government halls and private lives, setting the stage for a thriller that blends political intrigue with unsettling sci-fi undertones. At the center of it all is Sterling K. Brown as Agent Xavier Collins, the President's lead Secret Service agent whose job pivots from protecting to finding the truth. James Marsden is President Cal Bradford, the slain leader whose choices keep rippling through every corridor of influence. Julianne Nicholson plays Samantha Sinatra Redmond, an ultra-powerful operator pulling levers behind the scenes. Sarah Shahi is Dr. Gabriella Torabi, a grief specialist brought in to steady fraying nerves. Created by Dan Fogelman from This Is Us, the show takes his knack for character-driven storytelling and applies it to a world of conspiracies, betrayals, and future-facing ideas. The result is a thriller where the biggest stakes are global, but the sharpest cuts come from how those events fracture relationships and identities. The tone of Paradise is one of creeping unease, a blend of political drama and speculative fiction where every relation opens up another layer of mistrust. It's not just about the corridors of power, but the chilling realization of how fragile Paradise really is when people are willing to compromise everything for it. If you're drawn to thrillers that balance high concepts with grounded human drama, Paradise stands out as one of 2025's most compelling hidden gems, hence thought-provoking and binge-worthy.
It's four of us, all with the same thing at the same time.
I think there's more of us. We're here to work out whether our kids were hurt by something they shouldn't have been.
From Netflix comes Toxic Town, a gripping four-part drama rooted in real events. The series centers on three working-class mothers who begin to suspect that something is very wrong in their community. When a cluster of unusual birth defects and illness emerge, They trace the cause back to years of industrial negligence, and their fight for justice begins. The story unfolds through the perspectives of these women, led by Jodie Whittaker, Amy Lou Wood, and Claudia Jessie, each portraying mothers whose lives are appended but who refuse to be silenced. Opposite them are figures of power and denial, with Robert Carlyle and Rory Kinnear embodying the institutions and authorities determined to dismiss their claims. Written by Jack Thorne, known for socially charged dramas like Help and National Treasure, the show carries the same sense of moral urgency. But here, it's filtered through the intimacy of family life, showing how ordinary people become unlikely activists when forced to confront justice. Tonally, Toxic Town is both heavy and hopeful. It's not about shocking reveals or flashy courtroom battles, it's about persistence, the toll of speaking out, and the resilience of community. The cinematography leans muted and grounded, reflecting both the grit of the fight and the stark reality of its stakes. If you're drawn to movies like Erin Brockovich or Dark Waters that blend social issues with personal drama, Toxic Town is an essential watch, powerful, emotional, and a true underrated gem of 2025.
Everyone tells me you're brilliant. You're looking for sequences in prime numbers.
What if the numbers didn't behave the way we assumed? What if we're not in control?
Prime Target is Apple TV Plus's ambitious attempt at a globe-trotting conspiracy thriller, one that asks what happens when a single breakthrough could change everything we know. The story follows Edward Brooks, a brilliant young mathematician who believes he's on the verge of a major discovery in prime number theory. But just as he's about to publish, he realizes someone powerful is working to erase his work, and possibly him along with it. What begins as an academic triumph spirals into a chase through layers of surveillance, digital warframe, and international intrigue. Leo Woodall leads as Edward, playing him not as a classic action hero, but as someone in way over his head. He's supported by Quintessa Swindell as a confidant who becomes entangled in the danger, while veteran actors like David Morrissey bring gravitas as figures whose loyalties are never quite clear. Created by Steve Thompson from Sherlock, the show takes inspiration from classic puzzle box thrillers but transplants them into a high-tech, modern arena where information itself is the weapon. Tonally, Prime Target is slick and suspenseful, leaning on moody visuals, sudden betrayals, and the unsettling idea that you can never trust what's hidden in the code. Critics have been divided. Some find it uneven, others praise its ambition, but for fans of twisted thrillers, that unpredictability is part of the fun. If you like series where every episode ends with more questions than answers, and where the danger comes as much from the keyboard as the gun, Prime Target is a binge-worthy curiosity and one of Apple's more underrated offerings of 2025.
There are 200 people down there, including the President of the United States.
Did anything unusual happen? Other than my boss dying? Other than that, yes.
Netflix took the classic murder mystery and gave it a fresh twist with The Residence, a whodunit set against one of the most iconic backdrops in the world, the White House. The story begins when the White House chief usher is found dead during a high-profile state dinner. Enter Detective Cordelia Cobb, played by Uzu Aduba, whose sharp intuition and eccentric methods quickly put her at odds with the staff, guests, and political elite, all of whom become suspects in a case that mixes scandal, power, and plenty of secrets. The ensemble cast is stacked with familiar faces. Giancarlo Esposito is the imposing usher at the center of the investigation, Randall Park as an FBI special agent, and a rotating group of suspects that make the mansion feel like a stage where anything could happen. Created by Paul William Davis and produced by Shondaland, the series isn't just another murder mystery. It's a stylish, character-driven puzzle box. Every episode nods to classic mysteries with titles like Dial M for Murder and Knives Out, while building its own playful tone. The White House itself becomes part of the game with 132 interconnected rooms recreated as a living, breathing labyrinth of clues. Tonally, The Residence is witty, fast-paced, and designed for binging. It leans more screwball than sinister, a comedy of manners colliding with a locked-room mystery. The fun isn't just in guessing who did it, but in watching how the eccentric detective needles every suspect until their masks start to crack. If you're looking for a lighter, clever twist on the murder mystery genre, something in the spirit of Only Murders in the Building but with higher stakes and a grander stage, The Residence is one of Netflix's most entertaining hidden gems of 2025.
Så hörni, stort lycka till. Nu hittar vi Amanda.
Hoppas att vi inte hittar henne. Känner du Amanda?
If you're a fan of Nordic noir, The Åre Murders is one of 2025's must-watch hidden gems. Adapted from the best-selling novels by Vivek Stan, it combines the stark beauty of Sweden's mountain landscapes with a dark, slow-burning crime mystery. The story follows Hanna Allender, played by Carla Zen, a detective forced to leave her Stockholm post after personal and professional setbacks. She retreats to the ski town of Åre, hoping for a fresh start, but when a teenage girl vanishes during the Lucia festival, Hanna finds herself drawn into a case that uncovers hidden secrets, small-town tensions, and an undercurrent of danger that runs deeper than anyone realizes. Alongside Hanna is local officer Daniel Lindskog, portrayed by Cardo Rosazi, whose methodical approach clashes with Hanna's raw determination. Together they navigate a town where every family seems to have something to hide and where the wilderness itself feels like it's closing in. What makes the Åre Murders stand out is its atmosphere. The snow-blanketed landscapes and looming mountains aren't just backdrops, they're characters in their own right, amplifying the isolation and unease. The series takes its time, layering psychological tension with each new clue and rewarding patient viewers with a story that feels both intimate and epic. If you loved series like The Killing or Trapped, this is right in that wheelhouse, a mystery built on character, community, and the chill of knowing the truth is much darker than it first appears. The Åre Murders is Nordic noir at its finest, and one of Netflix's best under-the-radar releases this year.
Earlier today, a person called into this show, the Happy Face Killer.
The trucker serial killer from around here?
Mm-hmm.
He's my father.
True crime took a deeply personal turn in 2025 with Happy Face, Paramount Plus's unsettling drama inspired by the real-life story of serial killer Keith Hunter Jesperson. The series centers on Melissa Moore, played by Annalee Ashford, who grew up unaware that her father was the Happy Face killer. When the truth comes out, Melissa must navigate the fallout of living in the shadows of his crimes while also searching for her own identity apart from his infamy. Opposite her, Dennis Quaid delivers one of the darkest performances of his career as Jesperson. Chilling, manipulative, and disturbingly ordinary. It's a portrayal that avoids glamour and instead leans into the quiet horror of a man who managed to lead a double life for years. The show adapts Melissa Moore's memoir Shattered Silence and her Happy Face podcast. That perspective is what sets it apart. This isn't just a story about a killer, but about the family left behind and the generational scars crime can leave long after the headlines fade. Tonally, Happy Face is bleak but thoughtful. It doesn't indulge in sensational violence, instead it draws its tension from the emotional weight of Melissa's struggle, the shame, fear, and resilience of building a life when your past is forever tied to someone else's evil. If you're drawn to true crime dramas that focus less on the killer and more on the impact on families, Happy Face is a standout. Difficult, unsettling, but undeniably powerful.
London, the lion's den. Don't matter if you were raised here or you just got here. You learn to fight.
Next on the list is something completely different. 1,000 Blows on Disney Plus and Hulu delivers a gritty slice of Victorian London like you've never seen before. Set in the 1880s, the series follows two Jamaican immigrants, Hezekiah and Alec, who are pulled into the brutal world of bare-knuckle boxing after arriving in London. Their fight for survival pits them against poverty, prejudice, and the violent underworld, where alliances are fragile and every match could be their last. The cast is led by Malaki Kirby and Francis Lovehoe as the central duo, bringing raw heart and urgency to their performances. Opposite them is Stephen Graham, unforgettable as Henry Sugar Goodson, a menacing crime boss whose influence stretches from the boxing ring to the streets. Erin Doherty also shines as Mary Carr, leader of the 40 Elephants, a notorious all-female gang that adds even more danger and unpredictability to the mix. Created by Stephen Knight from Peaky Blinders, the show carries the same mix of historical authenticity and stylized grit. Every fight, every backroom deal, every betrayal feels heightened but never divorced from the social struggles of the time. Tonally, 1,000 Blows is both visceral and stylish, full of sweat, blood, and shadows, but always rooted in character drama. The fights are brutal and beautifully shot, but it's the relationships and shifting loyalties that keeps you coming back. If you loved Peaky Blinders, this one deserves a spot on your list. It's violent, gripping, and one of the most binge-worthy, underrated gems of 2025.
Aren't you supposed to ask me some questions?
How about how your best friend was shot in front of you and you think that it's your fault?
For fans of Scandinavian crime dramas, Department Q on Netflix is one of 2025's most intriguing, underrated releases. Based on the best-selling novels by Jussi Adler-Olsen, the series introduces a darker, more brooding take on the classic cold case detective story. At the center is Matthew Good as Carl Mork, a once promising detective whose career and psyche are shattered after a traumatic case leaves his partner permanently injured. Demoted to head a basement archive of unsolved crimes, Carl stumbles onto cases that refuse to stay buried and finds himself drawn back into the work he thought he'd left behind. The first case Carl and his team dive into involves the mysterious vanishing of Merritt Lingard, a young prosecutor who vanished 5 years earlier. As they reopen the file, the investigation exposes overlooked details, unsettling connections, and a ticking sense of urgency that someone may still be pulling strings in the present day. It's not just about solving what happened, it's about confronting why it was ignored for so long. Good brings a weary intensity to Carl, capturing a man defined as much by guilt and regret as by his sharp instincts. Alongside him is Alexandra Roach as Rose, a secretary with more grit and insight than Carl expects, and Mark Bonar as Assad, Carl's enigmatic partner whose calm determination balances Carl's volatility. The adaptation stays true to Adler-Olsen's novel while carving out its own identity, blending psychological tension with grounded police procedural elements. Tonally, Department Q feels like classic Nordic noir transplanted into Netflix's sleek style, muted colors, long shadows, and an atmosphere where every answer just leads to darker questions. It's less about high-octane thrills and more about quiet dread, slow reveals, and the humanity hidden in the darkest corners of crime. If you loved Broadchurch or Mindhunter, Department Q is the kind of layered, unsettling crime series you want to add to your watchlist.
A newsflash. Plane's gone down.
My child is on that plane!
One of the most powerful dramas of 2025 is Lockerbie, A Search for Truth, a limited series that brings one of modern history's darkest tragedies to the screen. The story revisits the 1988 bombing of Pan Am Flight 103, which claimed 270 lives over the small Scottish town of Lockerbie. Instead of focusing solely on the event itself, the series follows Jim Swire, played by Colin Firth, a father who lost his daughter in the attack and who has spent decades seeking justice and answers. Firth delivers a restrained but devastating performance, portraying Swire not just as a grieving parent, but as a man transformed by his relentless pursuit of truth. Around him, a strong supporting cast helps bring to life the investigations, politicians, and families swept up in the aftermath of an event that shaped global security policy. What makes Lockerbie compelling isn't spectacle, but intimacy. It's about how one tragedy reverberates through lives, communities, and nations, and how the pursuit of justice can itself become a lifelong burden. The show avoids sensationalism, choosing instead to ground its storytelling in empathy and persistence. Tonally, it's somber and deliberate, filmed with quiet intensity that mirrors the long shadow the disaster continues to cast. Critics have praised its sensitivity and Colin Firth's performance, noting that while it doesn't sensationalize, it demands reflection. If you're drawn to stories that carry both weight and heart, Lockerbie is a tough but essential watch, an underrated gem that lingers long after the credits roll.
Viens travailler pour moi. Vous serez le chef pâtissier de la France. C'est là que vous allez m'aider pour quelque chose de délicat, dangereux.
If you're craving something lush and decadent, Carême on Apple TV Plus is one of 2025's most surprising gems. The series tells the story of Antonin Carême, a boy born into poverty during the French Revolution who rises to become the world's first celebrity chef. But this isn't just about food, it's about power. As Carême dazzles Paris with his culinary genius, he's put into the orbit of politicians and aristocrats who see his talents as a weapon in their own games. Benjamin Voisin takes on the title role, bringing both vulnerability and swagger to a man who knows that every dish he serves could change his fortunes. Opposite him, Jeremy Renier portrays Talleyrand, the scheming statesman who recognizes Carême's gift and draws him into political intrigue, while Lina Kudry and Elise Deleuze round out the cast that brings both romance and rivalry to the table. What makes Carême irresistible is the way it blends food, politics, and seduction. Banquets become battlegrounds, recipes turn into acts of rebellion, and the kitchen is just as dangerous as any war room. Visually, it's a feast: candlelit salons, towering pastries, gleaming copper pans, and Paris at its most opulent. But beneath the beauty is a sharp story about ambition, class, and how genius can be both a gift and a curse. If you love the audacious style of The Great or the intensity of The Bear, Carême will hook you with its mix of spectacle and scandal. It's indulgent, dramatic, and one of the most flavorful hidden gems of the year.
Está cayendo una mierda tóxica del cielo que te toca y te mata. Mi hija está en algún lado.
One of 2025's most striking hidden gems is The Eternaut, Netflix's ambitious adaptation of a beloved Argentinian graphic novel. The story begins with a nightmare vision. A strange snowfall descends over Buenos Aires, instantly lethal to anyone it touches. In the chaos that follows, a small group of survivors bands together, realizing that the snow is just the beginning, and that a far more insidious force lurks behind it. At the center is Juan Salvo, played by Ricardo Darín, whose desperate search for his daughter becomes both the emotional anchor of the series and the lens through which we experience the apocalypse. Around him, a fragile community forms: neighbors, family, strangers, bound not by choice but by the sheer will to survive. What makes The Eternaut stand out isn't just its scale, though the snow-covered cityscapes and haunting imagery are unforgettable. It's the intimacy of the storytelling. Every episode peels back layers of fear, resilience, and sacrifice, turning the end of the world into something profoundly human. Tonally, it's tense and atmospheric, with visuals that feel both surreal and grounded. Cold whites and muted grays punctuated by sudden bursts of dread. It builds slowly, giving you time to care about the characters before plunging them deeper into danger. If you're drawn to science fiction that mixes spectacle with humanity, something closer to Station 11 than pure action fare, The Eternaut is one of 2025's most rewarding binges. It's chilling, emotional, and a reminder that in the face of overwhelming odds, survival isn't just about fighting, it's about holding on to each other.
Jim Ellis is tight in Saxton's world. Whatever he's up to, it's no small thing.
Closing out the list is Duster, a pulpy crime thriller that premiered on Max in 2025 and deserved more attention than it got. Set in 1972, the series follows Jim Ellis, played by Josh Holloway, a getaway driver who finds himself pulled into a dangerous alliance with Nina Hayes, portrayed by Rachel Hilson, the FBI's first black female agent. Together, they set out to take down a ruthless crime syndicate, navigating a world of double crosses, shifting loyalties, and explosive violence. Holloway brings rugged charm to Jim, a man trying to outrun his past, while Hilson is a breakout here, fierce, principled, and unflinching in a role that pushes against the era's social boundaries. Their chemistry is the beating heart of the show, grounding the spectacle in something human. Created by J.J. Abrams and LaToya Morgan, the series mixes grindhouse grit with modern sensibilities. It embraces a style of 1970s crime cinema, fast cars, smoky bars, and sudden bursts of violence, while layering in the racial and gender dynamics of the time to give it weight. Tonally, Duster is tense, stylish, and unapologetically pulpy. The Southwest setting feels dusty and dangerous, every motel room and desert road hiding the possibility of betrayal. Though it was cancelled after just one season, the show leaves behind a sharp, bingeable run that plays like a love letter to an era of crime storytelling. If you miss shows like Justified or enjoy films like Jackie Brown and The Getaway, Duster is a hidden gem you'll be glad you tracked down. And there you have it, some of the best underrated gems of 2025, from small town thrillers and Nordic mysteries to lavish period dramas and true crime heartbreakers. These are the shows that deserved way more attention than they got this year. Let me know in the comments which ones you'll be adding to your watch list, and did I miss any hidden gems of 2025? If you like this video, hit the thumbs up, share it with a fellow TV addict, and subscribe for more weekly recommendations. And remember, sleep is optional when there's one more episode.